Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. The June update has dropped, which means we're going to do our usual patch notes breakdown and look over some of the new stuff that's dropped. Some of the bigger changes this patch being the changes to CR and GR, as well as the Gunslinger Ancestrals that have come out. But before we get into that, I'll quickly go over some of the events that have come along with this as well. We're going to be having the Drenched Festival, which I believe is the Drenched Arena, so it's just water balloons instead of snowballs if you did the snowball arena. I imagine the rewards are going to be pretty similar, though they may throw in costumes. I don't remember if we had the watermelon swimwear in there during the last Drench Festival, but you might see that in there. I just feel like they'll throw more costumes in now that we've got them as diligence as well. I'm probably not going to make a full video on this event because I've done it again in the past. It's been on a couple times now, so I don't feel like I'll need to repeat myself. Maybe I'll make something fun out of it. I don't know. We'll see. We also have some arena shop discounts coming along with this patch. I don't know how long this is going to last for, but it's going to be 25% off, I believe. We'll see when we actually get in the servers because been waiting a while on the maintenance. I thought I would have done this video a lot earlier today, but hey, it is what it is. And then we have the riches from the depth. Hey everyone, Future's here editing the video. They just put out the page for these events now, so they've actually gave us the updated details. The servers are still not up. That's still not a thing. But for the Riches from the Depths event, you actually need to collect 2 bubbles each day from Mirage Isle, and the event is only lasting until June 24th. I think that's probably going to get extended considering the server situation right now. We'll see what happens. But with those 2 bubbles, you can then open 1 chest per bubble a day, and then there's a list of random rewards that you can potentially get. Some which are okay, and some which aren't so okay. But yeah, that's the event. Anyway, back to the video. But yeah, that is it for the events that are on the way, so we're going to jump right into the patch notes and we'll go through each part step by step. Alright, so here we are with the June update patch notes, and of course the big changes this patch are the changes to GR and CR, as well as the Gunslinger Ancestrals coming in finally. So we're going to start off by looking at GR and CR, and then we'll go on down from there. Okay, so the changes that have been made to the rifts are pretty similar to stuff you'd see in like Diablo and Path of Exile. It's a cool change to see, but we're going to start with the Grimghast Rift. So after you've defeated the Nightmare Bowstring, Nightmare Blade, it'll spawn a Nightmare Totem, and if you destroy this totem within 2 minutes is what it says in the Crimson one. It doesn't state in the Grimghast Rift revamp, but I'm going to assume it's also 2 minutes. If you destroy that in 2 minutes, you'll then have 2 portals spawn, and these will either go to a Nightmare Pit Fiend or a Nightmare Incubus, and both of these bosses have different drops. I assume these portals will be different colours or be named, something along those lines, but it doesn't say if you can do both of these portals, so this might be something that you have to do in separate raids or separate runs of the Rift, which is interesting. Or maybe even groups could split into 2 to go into the 2 different rifts. So I don't know. We'll see when when the servers are actually up. But the rewards for the Nightmare Pit Fiend are 1,600 honor points, 10 leadership, and 10 radiant infusion supply kits, which I mean is okay. But the rewards for the Nightmare Incubus is 1,600 honor points, 10 leadership, and 1 superior Lunarite pouch, which seems like the better option. So I'm going to assume the Incubus would probably be harder than the Pit Fiend to deal with. Again, we'll see when we actually get to play it. But once you've defeated one of these bosses, or maybe both, depending on how it works, you'll come out and you'll have to fight a final boss, the Nightmare Glaive. And once you've beaten this boss, you'll get 5 Gilder Stars and 20 Radiant Infusions on top. So that's a cool little change to Grim. It definitely, spices it up a little bit, makes it a little more interesting. I feel like this is something they could have done with content before, or even servers, like having servers where gear progression is a lot faster, but you have some sort of modifiers on to make it more interesting, kind of like leagues or something in Diablo or Path of Exile. Moving on to the Crimson Rift revamp, there's now 4 quests that you can pick up, and again, much like the Grim fight, once you've beat the Hounds, a Shadow Totem appears, and you've got 2 minutes to destroy the totem before it then spawns some more bosses. And here it says once demolished, welcome the Shadow Fiend, Shadow Succubus, Shadow Incubus, and Shadow Manticore. I like the sound of fighting a Shadow Manticore, that sounds cool. That's like 4 bosses though, and the other one suggested you had to go through portals, so I don't know if it'll be similar with the Crimson Rift, or if these are all just going to spawn on top of you. I think it'd be cool to see them all spawn on top of you and mix it up from the Grim one, but again, we'll see when that comes in. And then once you've defeated all these bosses, it summons a 5th boss called the Shadow Fang, and we can assume this is probably going to drop the new Lunagem that's come in, as well as the Nightmare Glaive potentially. But it doesn't state that you get any Gilder Stars for this. I'm going to assume you do. You probably get Gilder Stars as well for defeating this boss. But, yeah, we will see. Over in Aurora, if you're doing the Grim Rift there, or the Crim Rift there, the Shadow Totem only spawns after Amphelon, and then there's actually another boss that's different to all the other ones, called Xarkath. And that's apparently the final boss of Crimson Rift, so I'm fairly certain he's probably going to drop the new Lunagem, which is the glorious Winterglow Lunagem. But yeah, you can expect to get some more infusions, and there's probably going to be more Gilder Stars from all of these bosses with, again, some more potential drops in there, maybe just stuff you can vendor, I don't know, we'll see. Alright, moving on, let's look at the glorious Winterglow Lunagems. So, these are the new Lunagems, and they are actually given to you if you defeat Nightmare Glaive, Shadowfang, or Xarkath. I feel like Xarkath's gonna have a higher drop rate, right? I don't know if that was just my impression. But yeah, identifying one will randomly give you one of the following. So it's not like a you get to choose. It just randomly gives you one, which is fun. But yeah, there's the glorious Winterglow Lunagem of Battle Rage. There's Sorcery, Archery, Vitalism, Malediction, Swiftblade, and Gunslinger, and this just increases skill damage for each of these respective classes. It doesn't say where you can slot this new Lunagem. I heard someone say it was in the head piece, but I'm not sure. Again, it could be guards, could be belts. That's where I'd assume something like this would go, but we'll see. But that is an interesting new Lunagem to see put into the game. Alright, now on to something that I'm not sure how I feel about. There's what they've listed as Instance Renewal. So, players from all factions can now team up together in a party of 5 to declare Sea of Drowned Love. Cool. And that can be accessed via menu instance dungeons. Now, the thing I'm a bit iffy on is characters can now access greater dungeons via the menu as well, which means you don't need to actually use Hereafter Stones to go out to the instances, which, hey, I don't need to waste Hereafter Stones going all over the place, but at the same time, now I can just sit in my house with my door closed and just go between instances doing solo dungeons, and I guess some people just want to get that out the way, so it might be better, but it also takes these people out of the world. So people are just going to be sitting either at Howl Abyss in their capital city or just in their house, I guess, or even in the new zone, waiting for the Archeage invasion. So, I don't know, if I don't like stuff where I don't like the idea of just instancing everything, but it is what it is, you know. I guess it's a lot more convenient and some people will like that change, but I don't know how to feel about it. It feels like it's taken something out of the world. Alright, and next we have the Gunslinger Ancestral skills finally being put in. So there are 5 Ancestral skills that Gunslingers now have. They have a Ceaseless Fire Ancestral, a Corrosive Barrage Ancestral, a Backdraft Ancestral, Splinter Cell Ancestral, and a Collateral Damage Ancestral. This going all the way up to Ancestral level 13. Now, I am going to do a full video going over all these Ancestral skills and talking about them. But just to briefly go over them, for the Ceaseless Fire, Flame fires several bullets, increases range attack, and can only be used on a single target. It also has increased global cooldown. Lightning inflicts AoE damage in front of the caster, but has a reduced global cooldown. So, again, we'll look at these abilities and see how they feel in game. With Corrosive Barrage, you only have Stone, which changes the effect of corrosion, so it decreases target's defense 17% per stack, when originally it used to decrease target's defense and magic defense minus 10% per stack, which is interesting. I feel like that's probably more useful for the Gunslinger alone. And then we have Backdraft Lightning, which casts instantly, but the silence duration is lower and there's a longer cooldown, so the cooldown is 25 seconds instead of 16, and the silence duration is 1.5 instead of the 2, though it may feel good to actually fire that off instantly instead of having to wait a few seconds. Then we have Splinter Cell Flame, which fires a bullet that inflicts AoE damage equal to 1% of the target's current health in PvE and 2% in PvP, which is interesting. And then if the target's well bossed, it only does the initial damage. And then finally we have Collateral Damage Quake, which has an increased ranged attack, and the skill never misses. It also creates a Powerful Wave, and Powerful Wave increases damage equal to 8% of the target's max health to up to 20 enemies within a 5-meter radius. And if the target is a world boss, it only deals the initial damage. So yeah, that's briefly looking at the Gunslinger Ancestral skills. Again, I'll go more in depth and I'll actually show off what it all looks like in-game when I can get in-game. Alright, and as for skill adjustments this patch, it is mostly focused on the Gunslinger as they've been trying to buff it up and make it a bit more viable. I really wish they'd add in what originally some of this was, because I don't even remember, because I barely used the Gunslinger myself personally. But Ceaseless Fire has been increased to 22 meters from 15 meters. Corrosive Barrage has been increased to 22 meters from 17. Backdraft, equipping a rifle allows you to hit up to 10 enemies with tripled base damage. I don't know what originally that was. Blight Bolt can also be used on a raid member without corrosion, inflicting them with blight effects for 7 seconds. The range has been increased to 22 meters. I'm seeing a pattern here. So that went up from 17 to 22. Then we have Vicious Rebuke, which deals range damage with an additional damage based on the caster's current health now. So if it's below 70%, it deals 230% damage. If the caster's health is below 30%, it does 330% damage. So that actually goes up quite a bit. And the range has been increased to 22 meters once again from 20. And they removed the use requirement, so you don't have to take a critical hit to actually use the ability. I remember this being an absolute pain to do when I was trying to show this off in the video, and I think I had to get someone to duel me. I think it was Hedgeo. I had to get to duel me to actually show this off. But yeah, that's an interesting one. It also removed the text, the skill can never miss, so let's assume it can miss now. Then Trigger Happy has also had some changes, so increased skill damage to 15% from 5% on victims of Blight, and it increased the additional hit range, but it removed the additional hit feature, changed to that the maximum damage can be caused at the maximum range. So the further away you are, the more damage you do, I'd assume. And then with Collateral Damage, they've adjusted the range of the second explosion. If I remember correctly, it feels like it goes a little too far away, but I'm not sure. It doesn't actually say how they've adjusted the explosion range. And then I believe these are the passives. We have Rifle Mastery, so it reduced the increased skill damage from Gunslinger skills to plus 7%. And Bullet Rain grants plus 2 adrenaline stacks when using Ceaseless Fire instead of 1. Other than that, Malediction has had a very small change. Well, a very small amount of changes, with Fury instantly grants 5 stacks of Malice charges, and the effects of Malediction skills are enhanced when used with the appropriate amount of Malice charges. So, I mean, it's not as long as a list, but, you know, you do have that to look out for. And then other adjustments are Complete Cloth Equip buff now decreases silence duration by 50% instead of 30%, which is a bit of a leap. A lot of people are just using leather now for, like, everything. But, you know, maybe people use cloth, we'll see. Alright, moving on from skill adjustments, we have the Farmhand Equipment Awakening. So now you can awaken your Farmhand equipment to make it even better. So I imagine it's going to work like normal Awakening, but you'll use it on either a Gathering, Farming, Logging, or Husbandry set. And it looks like with the main stats, it'll give you a plus 2,000 to the proficiency on each piece of gear. And then you also have a set effect for having a full set, so you have plus 2% to bonus harvest chance, minus 2 to production time, minus 2% to trade cost, and minus 2% to trade duration on a full awakened set. So yeah, if you want to upgrade the Gathering, Farming, Logging, Husbandry, or Commerce on a Farmhand, that's something else you can do now. It's even more to awaken fun stuff. But yeah, there's a brief list of all the stuff. Again, it's just getting like plus 2,000 to whatever you decide to spec in, plus the additional stats from a full set. It does say that you only spend 10 labor and a Farmhand Awakening Scroll to awaken the equipment. It doesn't say where we get the Awakening Scroll, so if this is something we craft or buy for vocation, I'm not entirely sure. Alright, and then finally, right here at the bottom, there's a brief thing mentioning they've adjusted the synthesis effects related to receive damage on the majority of gear. I don't think there's any gear to skip over there, but yeah, that's been changed. They don't say how they've changed it, but that has been changed. Now, there are some other things to look out for in the other changes that are actually pretty important. So, for everyone that was trying to do the Dream Ring quest, you now have to defeat a tough pirate instead of Morpheus the Death Trigger, so there you go. No one has to worry about that anymore. The max amount of participants for a cache invasion have been increased, so instead of 125 for Noya, there's now 200, and 200 for Haranya, as well as 100 for pirates instead of 50. Hopefully that's enough. I don't know. It's just, I've not been doing the invasion that much because I just don't want to sit around for hours waiting for it. I've got other things to do on those days, but hey, it is what it is. They have also adjusted the difficulty of the Akash invasion to make up for the amount of players, so the Akash now get more points for defeating players and occupying areas, so that is something to look out for. Alongside that, we've had some UI changes to portals, cargo, all of that stuff, and one of the big things that is in here as well is they've adjusted gear scores for Red Dragon's Keep, Kadum, and Golden Plains Battle, which is interesting to say. So Dragon's Keep is now 5,000 points instead of 6,000, so you can do that a bit earlier. Kadum is now 8,000 from 6,000, which, I mean, people struggled in that instance anyway, so it makes sense that they've upped it. And then Golden Plains Battle has went from 4,000 to 8,000, so you now need 8k gear score to get into Golden Plains Battle, which is an interesting one because it means less alts and potentially making Golden Plains Battle a little more competitive, and you don't have to worry about people AFKing as much. I think you're still going to get people AFKing because people are going to be just hitting 8,000 and not actually able to really participate as much as they'd like to. But I think this is also going to take a toll on newer players, so newer players won't be able to get the Labor Honor from Golden Plains, which one of my recommendations for newer players would be get to 4k as fast as possible so you can do Golden Plains, and the majority of people will just AFK through that, but you know, it's additional labor and honor that they're going to be missing out on, which kind of sucks. But I do get the sentiment of making it a bit more competitive and removing alts from that instance. I assume that's what they were trying to do with this anyway. And then also they've simplified the festival event tokens, so the only tokens there should be now are spring, summer, fall, and winter event tokens, which is interesting. But yeah, that is about it for the June update. There's also a bunch of bug fixes, which, you know, I don't know if there's anything we really need to know about. There's no word of them swapping the mount buttons back around, so I can actually get on my mount and not accidentally get on someone else's mount when I'm looting. That would be nice. No mention of that though. But yeah, I think that is it. So I will be putting out additional videos on the Gunslinger Ancestral skills, as well as the new GR and CR raids, and just hopefully see how they are, because they sound like they'll be fun. It'll be interesting to look at. And, you know, in the meantime, if I actually figure out where you get some of this stuff, I'll probably edit it in post. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, because we do have an Archeage section there where people talk and tell me things, so I know when things are happening, which is very useful. Also, did I say follow the Twitch? Yeah, all that stuff. Thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.